morning. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. This is the 4th day of April. This is the 66th episode of season 3 of the Be Your Own Hero show. HERO is an acronym. It means helping everyone reaps optimism. In other words, helping others helps you. It's a reciprocal action. I'm your host. I'm Sekou. I'm a professional creative, which means I'm an author, journalist, playwright, jewelry maker, bunch of other things. And I'm also the creator of what we're now calling the Hero Ministry Movement. And that's my effort to uplift and inspire people in general, and specifically the unhoused community. So thanks for joining me here on my show. And you can check me out here Monday through Friday, 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time, 8:45 a.m. Central, which is where I am now, or 7:45 a.m. Mountain. All right, if this show provides any value, please like, please comment, most of all, please share. And quick disclaimer, I'm not a personal trainer, nor am I a financial advisor. So do your own due diligence, take what I say with a grain of salt, and let's get into it. All right, so Hero Ministry Movement news. Today is Run Streak Day 308. 308, I'm in the 300s. And over the weekend, I ran with Fleet Feet. So just a reminder, I really started my running journey by myself. And then I got introduced to Black Men Run, and that's when it got serious. My running journey got serious. Black Men Run introduced me to Fleet Feet, which I didn't realize is a national chain of sneaker stores. Not only are they a national chain of sneaker stores, they also have a very rich involvement in the community, and they have activities. So Fleet Feet Brentwood is doing half marathon and marathon training. They're doing this program where they are training you to run a half marathon and a full marathon. There's also all kinds of ancillary benefits. And so what we've been doing, those of us who are in the program, is running every Saturday together. The rest of the schedule is self-actualized. You read the list and do what it says do, or not, depending upon you. And then on Saturdays we run together. So anyway, I just wanted to introduce you virtually to the group. I typically run with the group. It's divided by time. So you decide what time you want to run the marathon in, what time you want to run the half marathon in, and then you run with that group. So my group is the 2:15 group. And this is us. That means 2 hours and 15 minutes to run a half marathon. Yeah, that's enough about that. So this is the 2:15 group. And here we are. This is us this past Saturday. You'll see me in my brand new fresh leggings. I just started dressing like a runner as of, I think, this week. So there I am in the front. And that's Antoine in the middle. You've heard me talk about him a lot. He's wearing the blue vest and the blue hat, black leggings, and orange laces on the sneakers. So he is the pacer for the group. And so his job is to run exactly at a 2 hour and 15-minute pace. And we kind of, cue off of him. So anyway, big group, lots of fun. We're developing a camaraderie with each other. It's pretty cool. So anyway, that was this past Saturday. And that is the evolution of the half marathon training. By the way, people keep asking me, so what half marathon are you training for? I didn't think about it that way. I thought about it in terms of the fact that here is half marathon training available to me. I should take advantage of it. I wasn't thinking I'm trying to get ready for a specific race. However, they just announced on Saturday that the half marathon / marathon is coming up in a couple weeks this month. And I was like, wow, it's right here. So maybe I will register. I haven't yet, but maybe I will register for the one that everyone else in the program is training for. Everyone else in the program is training for the half marathon here in Nashville called the Rock and Roll. Yeah, the Rock and Roll Marathon. So I might register for that. In the meantime, I've just been enjoying the training and the process. So that's the update on my run streak. Okay, so before I move on to the envelope challenge, let me shout out the people who are in the chat. Shout out to Gladys, I see you. Shout out to Tim, I see you. And shout out to Margaretta. Thanks for tuning in live. I appreciate it, folks. Okay, so envelope challenge. I got my dice. Let's go. Let's roll the dice. 6. The biggest possible number, which is still not a big number, $6. What you want to do is transfer $6 from your checking account, move it over into your shiny new savings account, and then invest it. Add it up, invest it. Add it up, invest it. And I've got more to talk about that in just a few moments. So if you're new to the show, what we're doing is called an envelope challenge. Well, really, it's my version of an envelope challenge. And every day, every weekday, we roll the dice. We take that number, turn it into a dollar amount, and move that amount from our checkings into our savings with the intention of adding that money up and then investing. Because the number one excuse people give for not investing is not having enough money to invest. So this is an easy and fun way to get that money. Okay, so let's move into the morning Zen. As you know, I've been reading the 7-Day Mental Diet again, and I've been talking about it. So recapping a couple of things that were impactful to me. The idea of cheerful versus fearful. Asking yourself at any moment, at any point in the day, asking yourself, are you cheerful or are you fearful? Why this is groundbreaking to me is because it eliminates all those other moods, all those other variances, all those other outs you can give yourself. Well, I'm just feeling a little, all those things. It eliminates all that. Are you cheerful? Because if you're not cheerful, then you put all that other stuff in the other category. That really requires you to be a bit more focused about how you're feeling. The idea is to remain in a cheerful state no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what's going on in the world, to shift your energy to being in a cheerful state and make that your new baseline. So that was impactful for me. I hope it was impactful for you. Are you cheerful or are you fearful? Keep that with you and keep pushing yourself to being cheerful. The other thing that resonated to me quite a bit was the writing exercise. And just a reminder, we were to write, life is, fill in the blank, people are, fill in the blank, I am, fill in the blank, and money is, fill in the blank. And this is a way to directly access what your subconscious thinks about those things. Not what you think consciously, but what your subconscious is manifesting in those 4 categories. Because whatever your knee-jerk response was, whatever the first word you wrote down was, that's really a direct line to your subconscious and how you're feeling about those things. And so if any of those words or phrases that you filled in the blank with were negative, then you've got some work to do to shift your thinking and energy around those things. Okay, so moving on to where we are now, I want to read something from the 7-Day Mental Diet that resonated with me. Here we go. Our thoughts are like magnets. This is very important to understand. Pessimistic and negative thoughts will attract more of the same. So the more we dwell on stressful events, the more stressed out our thoughts will become, because those thoughts will attract other similar thoughts. That's really important. And here's another quote I want to read, just a sentence. A singular stressed or anxious thought can attract a whole host of other similar thoughts. I'm going to read it again. A singular, one thought, one stressed or anxious thought can attract a whole host of other similar thoughts. And we know this to be true. One of the ways I know this to be true is in terms of excuses. I learned very early on in my journey of my run streak that when I entertain any excuse for not running, a whole host of others comes in. Like it's like the excuse holds open the door for the rest of the excuses to run in, and they all come running in. They're all running into my head. Well, you don't have to do it because of this, because of that, because of this, because of that. All of them at the same time. So that's the way I've been thinking about it for me, that the excuse holds open the door for the rest of the excuses. And this is the same idea, that negative thoughts are magnetic, just like positive thoughts are magnetic. But we often entertain negative thoughts about what's happening in the world, what's happening in our life. And as soon as we start to entertain those thoughts, more negative thoughts come in. So check yourself. Be very mindful about the thoughts you're thinking by remembering that they are magnetic. Just one negative thought can bring in others. Just one excuse can bring in others. So be careful. Okay, so let's do our affirmation and reminder. Shout out to Simone. Appreciate the cup of coffee. So here is our affirmation. And as I'm pulling up the affirmation, I actually do the reminder first. If you only spend, you'll stay poor. We should all know this by heart by now, right? But it's good reinforcement. If you only spend, you'll stay poor. If you only save, you'll stay middle class. If you want to become wealthy, you must invest. It's not optional. It's not optional. All right, so here's our affirmation. We're going to do it 2 times. First time for the word, second time for the feeling. First time, I am so happy and grateful to be a multimillionaire in every area of my life. Second time, with feeling, I am so happy and grateful to be a multimillionaire in every area of my life. Feel it, know it, drink it into your bones. Okay, so I said I was going to circle back to the envelope challenge today because last week I mentioned that several people, 3 people literally asked me for advice about what to do in the stock market last week because I mentioned on this show that Amazon announced a stock split and Tesla announced a stock split. And people were asking me what to do. And so I gave my advice. I said what I would do is I would invest in Amazon stock and Tesla stock, right? Now, here's what's interesting. All 3 of them did it. All 3 of them, in some variation, invested in Amazon or Tesla or both. All 3 of them, right? What did I do? I took my envelope challenge money and paid off a credit card. What? Like here I am giving advice about the stock market and investing in the stock market and playing the long game and investing in these 2 stocks right now because they've announced a split. And whether they split or not, they're both up because they've announced a split. And what do? I go pay off a credit card. So I've been grappling with that the whole weekend. Why did I do that? Why did I do that instead of what I was suggesting other people do? And so where I ended up is it really comes down to beliefs. It really comes down to those subconscious beliefs, those subconscious habits. Like that's what we all have to get to. As I mentioned when I read the book, The Psychology of Money, check that out. Money is presented as a math issue, but it's not a math issue. It's a psychology issue. We all acquire beliefs, ideas, thoughts about money from the environment around us and from our family members and from overhearing things on the news and in the world. We acquire all these beliefs that are not necessarily true. And they embed themselves in our subconscious and we're not aware of it. And so what I came to is that the reason I spent my envelope challenge money on paying off a credit card instead of investing was two main ideas. One, that debt is bad. Get rid of debt. Debt's a bad thing. Get rid of it. And the other thought that came to me that seems to be a belief that I've held for a while is that big money goes to big debt. So 1, debt is bad. 2, big money goes to big debt. And $600 isn't that big, but that's what I stacked up my envelope challenge money to, right? And so I've been working with those things, and it's funny how like these your mind will lead you to actions that are contrary to what you're thinking consciously. Because again, what I was thinking consciously was I need to get in on Amazon and Tesla. But what I did was I paid off this debit card. Now, I appreciated seeing the zero balance. That filled me with a nice warm feeling, right? But I spent the weekend going halfway down the rabbit hole about the benefits of paying off a credit card. What are the benefits? None. There ain't no benefits. The benefit is you feel better about it. But in the world of finance, it doesn't benefit you. Now, again, don't take my word for it. Go Google it yourself, because that's what I've been doing all weekend. But what I found is that a zero balance essentially stops being reported. There's nothing to report because it's a zero balance. So whatever institution is holding that zero balance stops reporting it to Experian and TransUnion and the credit places, right? Because there's nothing to report. There's no debt. There's no activity. Also, those institutions will move to close your account after a certain amount of time of you holding a zero balance because you're not using the debt. So they'll close the account. Then you don't have that credit card anymore, right? So when we say, I'm obviously including myself in this, when we say that, oh, I paid off the credit card and I feel better about it and I got a zero balance, we're trying to play the game of finance by our rules. But the game of finance has rules that we got to learn and follow. So the better thing to do, I learned, what's better than paying off a credit card is having a balance, having debt, having a balance, and making regular payments. That actually benefits you in terms of your credit rating. But paying it off to a zero balance doesn't benefit you. Feels good, feels great, doesn't benefit you. So there's a couple of things for me to work on there. Number one is knowing that you have to use debt as a tool if you want it to serve you. So that goes against the idea that debt is bad. Debt is bad, get rid of it. No, debt is simply a tool. You just have to learn how to use it, learn how to use it well. All right. And then the other idea was big money goes to big debt. No, because several times in my life, I paid off all my bills, all my debt. And I'm sure you have too. But it did not change my financial life. It did not change my financial life. How about you? Did it change your financial life? My guess is no. So then that's not the answer. Paying off all your debt is not the answer. The answer is investing. So anyway, at some other point during the weekend, somebody sent me $100 on cash for something I did, some freelance work I did. And so I immediately allocated $80, 80% to the stock market, and I kept $20, 20%. So I felt like I was kind of making up for lost time with the $600. And obviously there's two very different amounts, but the idea is invest first because that will change your financial life. And then if that had been a credit card, I could have used the $20 to pay the minimum balance on the credit card, right? But I know that if I keep investing aggressively, there will come a time when my assets, my stock market portfolio can effectively pay for any of my liabilities. But it won't ever happen if I just keep paying off debt. I've got to stack on the investment side. Which reminds me, people often say, and this happened to me. I remember early in my adult working life, I asked a friend of mine he's an investment banker, so he had a lot of money. And I asked him about how to kind of get from where I was to where he was. And he said, pay off all your debt first and then start investing. And now, knowing what I know, I push back against that wisdom. You have to start investing immediately because it's a skill. Like you have to learn how to invest, where to invest, how to manipulate the markets. Like it's a skill set that you have to learn. If you pay off all your debt and then start trying to figure out how to invest, you're starting from zero. So my advice would be to do both at the same time and spend more money investing than you do paying off debt, because ultimately those assets can pay off your liabilities, but you have to build them up first. So that was a very interesting journey for me this past weekend. All right, so that's it. I want to highlight somebody. Today's Monday, so Motivation Monday. And I want to highlight a guy named Anthony O'Neill. Anthony O'Neill was suggested to me when I was on someone else's podcast. Oh, shout out to Regina Smithwick. I was on her podcast, and she suggested that I check him out, Anthony O'Neill. So Anthony O'Neill is a young black man who worked with Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey, I've only listened to a couple of times, but he is a well-known financial advisor. So what's interesting about Anthony is that, well, there's a couple of interesting things, but what's most interesting to me is the trajectory. So at some point, I'll tell the whole story. Let's just tell the whole story. So when he went to college, he was introduced to the idea of credit cards. Because those of us who've been to college, we all remember this. You come on campus in your freshman year, and then there's tents set up where they're trying to get you to sign up for credit cards. I did it. And so did Anthony O'Neal. And as soon as he got his credit card, he spent all the money, the full credit limit that they gave him. He bought food for everybody. Oh, and speaking of which, the reason he signed up for the credit card was not for the credit. It was for the 2 free pizzas that they were going to give him if he signed up. So he signed up. They gave him the 2 free pizzas. And then when they gave him the credit, which he didn't think he was going to get, he used it immediately. He bought some stuff for his girlfriend. He bought some more stuff for his girlfriend. He took his friends out to eat and used up the limit immediately. And they gave him more. They increased his limit. He used that up immediately. So very quickly, he got into credit card debt. Eventually, he got kicked out of school, unrelated, and then ended up having to live in his car. His parents were like, nope, you got to figure this out on your own. And so for 6 months, he was living in his car in a Walmart parking lot, just trying to figure out how to get out from under this debt. So I think it's interesting to note that all that happened early in his life, because now he's a multimillionaire. Now he's literally paid 6 figures a year to talk about financial responsibility. And he tells that story about how he ended up in credit card debt so quickly and his effort to get out from under it. So the reason I like big trajectories is it shows us that no matter where you were, you can get there. You can get there. No matter how bad your situation is, you can still get there. So to prove the point, Anthony, I follow him on social media now, and he actually posted his bank balances, which is bold, but it gives us a really interesting idea about how to allocate your resources. We've talked about that in theory, but here's an actual example. So this is Anthony's checking account. Anthony's checking account is $50,000. So first of all, pause for that. He was like 5 or 6 figures in debt, living in his car in a Walmart parking lot, and now he's got $50,000 in his checking account. That's amazing, but that's not all. So $50,000 in his checking account, $100,000 in his savings account, $50,000 in his kid's savings account. So at this point, I'm not feeling too good about Anthony's breakdown because, as we have already learned on the show, inflation is a slow leak on your savings accounts, right? It's gradually just pulling value out of the money that you've set aside. Matter of fact, I read something this weekend. Oh, can I find that? I read something this weekend that said it shouldn't be called a savings account. It should be called a depletion account. What? A depletion account. Because the value is slowly being depleted. Okay, so before I go off on a tangent talking about that, let's get back to it. So I'm not feeling great about his breakout because I'm like, all right, so you got $200,000 sitting there being depleted in value. But then the next line item is his investments. His investments, $2.2 million. Wow. So the $200,000 that he has in checking and savings is just 10% of his net worth, right? So he's got 90%. He's pushing 90% into his investments, 90% into investing, and only keeping now 10%. And this is coming from someone who was living in his car up to his ears in debt. So again, it shows us the importance of investing consistently, ongoing. That should be your biggest line item, investing over there in your net worth column. That should be your biggest line item, bigger than your checking account, bigger than your savings account. And that's not typically the way we think about it, right? We think we put a little bit over there, put a little bit over there into the investment market, a little bit over there to the stock market, little drips and drabs. No, we got to inverse it. This is very similar to what I call Shaq theory. Shaq spent, once he learned how to handle money, by the way, I'm going to tell that story too. I think I got time. But once he learned how to handle money, he started investing 75% of his income right off the bat. 75%. And now he can literally live off of his investments. He doesn't have to do anything. Like right now, Shaq could not do anything. He could sit around and play video games all day. Not that Shaq would do that. But Shaq could sit around and play video games all day and make more than $27 million a year because of his investments. His investments generate that much revenue. But that's because early on, he had to invest 75%. And Anthony O'Neal apparently has invested 90%. 90%. That's incredible. So again, that takes me all the way back to my story and how I realized that I've got some cognitive biases I still need to work on in terms of having a lump sum of money and investing it. Invest the lion's share. Invest 50, 75, 80, 90% over there so that it will change your financial life soon come. Anyway, I said I was going to tell the Shaq story. So really quickly, when Shaq first made it into the NBA, he got one of those major checks, right? And he spent his first NBA check in 30 minutes. 30 minutes. It's gone. And thankfully, his family had a banker, like a guy at the bank that was dealing with their family at that point. So the banker called Shaq and said, listen, you got to come to my office first thing Monday. So he comes to the office and the banker says, listen, man, you can't do this. You can't spend all your money at all like that. You can't spend the whole check, especially you can't spend the whole check in 30 minutes. You've got to learn how to play this for the long game. So he got somebody that pulled his coat and told him, listen, you've got to invest. And that wasn't even the 75-25 conversation. That was just the beginning of, listen, you got to set money aside to invest. You must, because most basketball players, football players too, end up broke. I think the statistic is 60 to 70% of the players who had huge salaries end up broke without a penny to their name. So this is how you have to do this. So he learned early on. And then relatively early on, he learned about stock. I'm gonna tell that story too. It's a quick one. So he was at a party and there was a kid at not a party, at a banquet, some high-end thing. And the kid at the table next to him was a Shaq fan and wanted his autograph. And so he played nice with the kid. And the kid's father was very appreciative and said, hey, man, I really appreciate you doing all that for my kid. I want to tell you something. You need to buy Google stock tomorrow. And Shaq was like, wasn't in the stock market, didn't know much about it, but he had been setting money aside because of the banker, his family's banker from a while ago. So he had his people get on it and they invested a little bit of money. His regret to this day is that he didn't invest more. So he didn't put a whole lot on it, is the point, but it made money. And he was like, oh, okay, this makes money, this stock market thing. And so the lion's share of Shaq's money is in the stock market. And that is the investment that generates more than $27 billion per year for him. So all that said, investing, once again, is not optional. If you want to change your financial life, you've got to invest. You've also got to do battle with your own cognitive biases, with your own beliefs. They're lurking in there, just like they were lurking for me. That made me spend the $600 on zeroing out a credit card rather than investing in Amazon and Tesla, even though I know that that's the play right now. So do your battle, do your research, and grow your future financial self. You got to focus on the future and not the now, because that'll get you there. Okay, so I think I covered the things I wanted to cover. Stay tuned for prayer time coming up at 10:15. Stay tuned for Sit with Rev Melissa at 10:30. I'll be producing that show. And this week, I think we're going to be talking more about cognitive biases and how to push past them. All right, so in the meantime, go invest. If you haven't started the envelope challenge yet, start the envelope challenge and invest your money, because the only thing that's going to change, I shouldn't say the only, but one of the best ways to change your financial life is to invest aggressively. All right, so keep doing, be a hero, be your own financial hero, right? And remember that now is better than perfect. I will see you mañana. Later.